In what I consider great progress and awesome news, Tesla just announced its 20 millionth 4680 battery cell produced at Giga Texas. It wasn't but on June 16th of this year that Tesla completed its 10 millionth battery, so that means Tesla produced 10 million more cells in Giga Texas alone in the past 4 months. Battery production is notoriously hard, especially for efforts in the USA. You've heard it expressed in our domestic OEM competitors, and you've seen foreign transplants having difficulty with their own American-based factories ramping progress. So what does that mean for the Cybertruck? Some assumptions will put the number of cells per Cybertruck pack at 1,300. So let's extrapolate a year-long production of cells at 30 million per year divided by the 1,300 cells. Our simple calculations would mean around 23,000 Cybertrucks at the current rate of cell production. Maybe that's a lower number than what you wanted to hear, but no, this is just the initial ramp. Let's put the whole battery thing in perspective. Tesla is refitting Cato Road's battery factory, and it was at the end of last year they proved a weekly production rate of about 900 cells, and that likely improved all year long in 2023. We also know that Giga Nevada is looking to triple its battery output with a recent expansion plan to 100 gigawatt hours. Also, we have Giga Texas, which aims to have similar production output of 100 gigawatt hours as the Nevada facility. With the limiting factor on X, calculating Cybercell 4680 output at approximately 5 gigawatt hours as of today, once these are ramped up, there will be enough sales for hundreds of thousands of Cybertrucks with Gigatest battery production alone, but it might take a while to see that ramp realized, which is why we have the 2 other factories. But as excited as Tesla fans are for the incoming Cybertruck, Adam Jonas' new Tesla note tries to pour cold water on the new model. The Morgan Stanley analyst hosted a bull bear luncheon with investors in Manhattan. Before we even go into the note, you're probably thinking what I'm thinking. It was a luncheon with one bull, in Adam Jonas, in an entire room of Tesla bears. But even resident Tesla bull Jonas has Morgan Stanley with a bit of a conservative earnings outlook, even when compared to the street consensus, something to keep in mind as we go into earnings next week. The luncheon gave Jonas the ability to poll the room informally, and he provided some key takeaways. And not surprisingly, we can confirm the banquet room was actually a bear cave. Let's run through the takeaways together. First, unanimous sentiment there is a downside consensus earning revision risk for the remainder of fiscal year 2023. This is important to note because you might see further price target reductions, earnings revisions, and downgrades for Tesla stock in the next few days. Second, caution around Tesla share performance for the rest of 2023. Though the attendees think it'll be more resilient than the market, just note, from a percentage perspective, Tesla could underperform, but maybe just less than what its beta could suggest. If you watch my daily Tesla stock price action videos, you know we typically make a low during November for the stock. Something to think about. Third, commentary on the forward outlook was seen as more consequential than the third quarter result itself. I think quarter 3 for Tesla has a lot baked into the current stock price in terms of lower deliveries affecting the report. Not sure I agree there myself. I think seeing profit coming down and free cash flow coming in the hundreds of millions could spook a lot of the street who mostly doesn't track the company close enough. Fourth, fiscal year 24 seen as volatile, downside risk of volume, something earnings potentially may not grow at all. We all know the volatility, but as far as earnings going flat year over year, honestly, I think these Wall Street types would say that any year, every year, since Tesla's inception. Fifth, and here's the doozy, Cybertruck. Jonas has very little enthusiasm on Tesla's next model, teething issues seen as perpetuating Tesla's relatively stale model lineup. These guys sound like Ford investors, right? Anyways, let's continue. Adam goes on to say the Cybertruck could be delayed or ramped slowly, which may cause Tesla to cut price on other models just to move metal. If Tesla announced a launch event, started production with quarter 3 results next week, it could be positive for the stock. Well, we talked about this possibility in yesterday's video, and we see it as probably a negative because if they use the launch event to keep sentiment up during a bad earnings report, it might not be great news for the stock. An example of such was when the Model 3 Plus was released, and the S and X price cuts announced just a few hours later, and we know what happened thereafter. Sixth, really not much interest in Dojo or Tesla's AI FSD efforts, as it is difficult to predict the event path and hard to measure any improvement from FSD version 12. General concern for Tesla's approach to autonomy is risky with respect to relying on passive optical camera relative to other FSD efforts. I know. I can feel the collective rolling of eyes from the Tesla community, and I'm right there with you. And honestly, most of these takeaways are known quantities from the Wall Street types, and we know how wrong they've been about Tesla for years. Maybe it's not their fault. They can only see one foot in front of them because that's all the industry will let them do. To sum up the event, let's go back 4 years and recall the hubbub around the Model Y. During a private call with investors, Adam Jonas could be quoted saying, "Today, supply exceeds demand. They're burning cash. Nobody cares about the Model Y. The company raised capital near lows. No strategic buy-in. There could have been a strategic involvement in the capital raise, someone to fill the board to provide some know-how." Later in the call, it would be described as Jonas calling Tesla not a growth story, but quote, a distressed credit story, and a restructuring story. Fast forward to the present, the Model Y is the world's best-selling vehicle.